Hello and welcome to this week's video. Now, for those of you that watched last week's video, you'll know that I was at my badger set site trying to get some images of badgers. Now, it was a bit of a struggle last week, I have to say. The badgers are not coming out really early enough, or they're coming out but they're undercover and I can't get any shots of them at the minute, so it's a little bit hit and miss. But what I did learn from last week is that while I was waiting, and if you'll watch the video you'll see, there was a fox came across the back of the site with a massive hare. Absolutely, I kept having to put this hare down, it was so big. And I knew obviously it's the time of year when foxes have got cubs, so I knew it'd be taking it somewhere to feed some youngsters. And my thinking was at the time, well, it's not going to be taking that very far because it's the energy it'd waste to get that a long way would be not worth the energy, you know, that it's going to give, if you like. So, but it was a big hare, so I thought, yeah, it's probably potentially dragged that quite a long way. So I knew there was a den in the area, and I'd been looking for one on this site, and I'd looked in all the normal places because they normally have them up here, and not been able to find any, so I was quite excited. But I stuck with the badgers last week. Anyway, while I was still waiting for the badgers, I got a lot of rustling going on behind me, and I assumed it was badgers because this is such a massive set and it's got satellite sets all over the place, so you sort of kind of expect that, you know, there's holes under the undergrowth and the brambles all over the place where they're coming out. So I ignored it right until the end of the night when I heard some real squealing, and I knew straight away that was fox cubs fighting. It's a very distinctive sound, so with that in mind, I knew that the den was very, very close to me. So during the daytime, after that, I've done a couple of scouts round and actually found where the den is, and I've also found where the cubs seem to be coming out. So what I'm going to do today, I've located a position quite close to where I think the cubs will come out. And the wind direction's favourable, so it's not blowing my scent over the den. The challenge is going to be getting into position quietly. And the other problem I've got is the same as the badgers, is this field is, and I'll show you what I mean, is covered with seed heads. Cattle graze on this field, and there's cattle in here at the minute, but the problem with it is that cattle tend to take all the grass, but they don't take the seed heads. Now, for photography, especially for photographing things like badgers, number one, they've got the noses in the floor all the time. So this creates a real problem because you just get these in front of the face all the time. If you watched the video last week, you'll see that I did clear a couple of little areas about 1 metre square and put some peanuts in it, just simply to try and get a shot. Now, that's not something that I would do with something like fox cubs, because the problem there is the fox cubs aren't coming to a place to eat. The fox cubs are actually trying to stay in cover just outside of the den. So what I really don't want to be doing is removing any of that cover. So obviously the shots this week will have grass in front of them definitely, and I'll just try and get some shots in between if I can. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. So will filming actually, so I may have to film in manual mode most of the time, just because potentially the camera will try and focus on the grass rather than on the fox cubs. So they're the challenges this week. As I say, the other challenge is to get into position nice and quietly and quickly. So I'm going to set everything up ready. I know the position I'm getting into where I've got some cover. So, and I think I can get round to it without being seen. So it might involve a little bit of crawling, but I'm used to that anyway. So that's the plan. I'm going to go and get in position. Hopefully we'll get some film and some stills of fox cubs. The only thing that I do wish is this field was being grazed by sheep, because I think sheep would take all this and it would be, you know, shorn right down to 1 inch high, which would be ideal. But yeah, it's always cattle in here, so it's a little bit of a problem, but you have to work with what you've got. I can't move the fox cubs, I can't move the badgers, you know, this is where they're located. So unless I find somewhere better, then, you know, this is what we've got to work with, so we'll do the best with what we've got. Anyway, I'll catch you in a little while. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you when I'm set up. Right. Okay, I hope you can hear this audio. I'm having to whisper because, as I say, the foxes are They're about 20 metres away here. I've got into position, got everything set up, and they're doing what they do a lot of the time, and that's just laying down just outside relaxing. Yeah, so it's really interesting. It's red hot here today. I've got this coat on to try and just make me blend in with these bushes here, and yeah, it's really interesting to watch them. They'll keep getting up and having a stretch, and then they'll get back down and go back to sleep. And sometimes you can see 2 or 3 of them, sometimes there's 4, sometimes you can only see 1. They're all really low down in the grass there, so it's just a case of waiting. And they tend to have, probably like lots of young animals do, they have bursts of energy where they'll fight and play, and then, you know, they just go to sleep again and lounge around. So I'm also keeping my eye out for Mum or Dad coming back. I'm not seeing them, but Mum might be down at the bottom, laid away from the den, because they do get fed up with them mithering them all the time, if you like. So they'll try, when they get this a bit older, as I said in the last video, they'll try and keep away from the den a little bit more, just to you know, get a little bit more of a relaxing afternoon, if you like. Anyway, I'm going to keep watching them and taking some shots and some video, and I'll catch up with you later. Right. Just noticed some interesting behaviour actually. Went a little bit dull for a couple of minutes, and there was a buzzard circling really low over this hillside, incredibly low actually. And the fox cubs were all laid down, but then when it came over the top of them, all of a sudden they were all alert. And you'll see it in this footage now. They're suddenly all watching this buzzard. Now, I'm not sure whether it'd be a particular threat, not at this age. And to be fair, I think buzzards will, unless something's injured, they'd prefer to go with something that's not got as many teeth or claws. But they were obviously keeping their eye on it, and yeah, the buzzard circled over for it. I did wonder for a while. I did wonder whether it was interested, but eventually it circled off. So yeah, it was nice to see that little bit of behaviour. I'm hoping that they're going to get a little bit active in a while. There is a log quite close to where they are, and I'm wondering whether they come and play on that, but I don't know. We'll have to see. There's plenty of stuff, I think, in the undergrowth that they can play on. My guess is that that's where they'll go if they want to chase around into the brambles where they're under cover, and they just come and lie on the edge of this field just to get some sunshine and have a nice relax. But yeah, it's just fascinating to spend a little bit of time with these animals. Absolutely fantastic. I'm just lying back down. I've just had a look, and since I spoke to you last, all the cubs have disappeared now. Whether that's because Mum's come back and bought them something, I don't know. I didn't hear any greeting sound or anything, but that's not to say there weren't any. Judging by the other day, they're coming in through the bottom of this set area rather than the top where I'm located. I mean, I came to the top really because A, for the wind direction, and B, just simply that it means I'm shooting slightly from a higher level than I'm looking down on them, which means I can try and get a little bit above this grass. But it's interesting they've all disappeared, so it's a waiting game. But you know, there are worse things to do on a Sunday afternoon. Anyway, I'll catch up with you later. Hopefully the cubs will come out again. You never know, I might get a shot of the mum or the dad coming in. I'm keeping my eye out across the fields because I've got quite a good view here, but they'll tend to stick to the edge of the trees rather than walking across the middle of the field, I should imagine. But we'll see. Anyway, a really fun afternoon. Well, we do like to catch all the animals' natural behaviour, so as you can see on this clip here, they do sort of start to wander around a little bit. You know, they start to investigate and explore, and caught this little one here going to the toilet, just like normal dogs do, really. Now they've disappeared into the undergrowth again, so I don't particularly know where they've gone. It was as if potentially Mum came back because they all suddenly scurried back underneath the undergrowth. They can't smell me up here, so If you keep looking in this direction, you can probably see the lens, and that's what they're looking at. I'm wondering what it is, but it's just really fascinating to just spend a couple of hours watching these wild foxes, and just watching their behaviour really, and how similar it is to sort of domestic dogs and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to get back to it. They don't seem to disappear for long and then they're back out again, so I'm going to take the opportunity while I can to try and get some more shots and video. While it's quiet, I suppose I better share with you what alerted me to the fact that the foxes were here in the first place. Well, when I did that video last week, for a start I was convinced I'd got badgers behind me because I could just hear rustling in the undergrowth, and this is such a big set here with there's just multiple entrances and exits and satellite sets all over the place, and I assumed that I'd got a badger running around behind me. But it wasn't until I heard this, and I'll play you this now so that you can listen to it, and this came from directly behind me, so as you can hear, it's a very, very distinctive sound, and it really is just the sound of the fox cubs fighting. Very distinctive compared to anything else, say a badger or anything. Completely different pitch and tone. So as soon as I got that, I knew that by tying together the fact that that fox had brought that hair across the back of me earlier on, the sounds I was hearing, and then obviously the sounds that I could identify as cubs play fighting or squabbling, whatever you want to call it, I knew that the den was pretty close behind me, so that's enabled me to come out today and obviously do this photography and video now. But as always with any sort of this photography, what you have to do is really just, respect the wildlife and just make sure that you're not going to disturb it. If I ever did anything where I thought that my actions were going to lead to parents leaving youngsters or something, I'd be mortified. So I know I'm quite safe here. One of the things I don't do is I don't advertise, where I've found things, and sometimes I get people ask, can I come out with you and have a look? I'd love to come out with you and have a look. And to be honest, I'm not really a person who likes to do that, because then you just get crowds and crowds of people going to the same place. So I think it's much more valuable as a naturalist or a wildlife photographer, or both, is if you can go out and find your own stuff, and then that's your own little bit of natural history paradise you've found, if you like, rather than going to somewhere that everybody else knows about and that you've been taken to. It's really all about the process of reading the signs, putting all that information together, and then, it's like a murder mystery really. It's trying to find, where the action is going to be, where the den's going to be, where the set's going to be. You put all that together, and then, if you're lucky, you get some footage and some images. So, but the most important thing is that you can leave and, the family of badgers or the family of foxes or whatever it is you're photographing, any type of bird is, that you're not doing any disturbance that is going to affect their pattern of life, if you like. So my plan for here is to, when I've finished today, is to reverse out of here, and hopefully they won't even know I've been here. So that's the plan. Right, I think I'm going to call it a day for today. It's really hot up here now, and I think to be honest, I think it's affected the behaviour of the foxes a little bit as well. They've been very lethargic, very coming out and lying in the sun, and then after 10 minutes disappearing into the shade, I think, again, which is something that I haven't been able to do, to be fair. So yeah, they've had it a little bit better than I have. I would have liked it if there had been a little bit more interaction between them. But as I say, I think a combination of the heat and probably the fact that they're still digesting that massive hair that was brought in that I filmed on last week's video has probably meant that, yeah, they just want to lie around. But I have managed to get a couple of stills images as well that I'll stick up at the end of this video. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I've really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to be able to find any fox cubs this year, and I thought I'd miss my chance. So I was really pleased the other night just to be able to hear those youngsters and know, right, we're in the vicinity of a den, and potentially we can get some footage and do some fox watching. So I hope you've enjoyed the stuff that I've put up today. I've really enjoyed doing it. I will see you next week for another video. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, for those of you that haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please think about subscribing to the channel. And I will see you next week for another wildlife video. Probably more chasing badgers. So yeah, wish me luck with that one. So I'll see you then. Bye.